Let's create another example. 15 JSTL. Open this application folder and create a JSP file, index.jsp. Now, what if you want to save an attribute? In JSP there are 4 attribute scopes. Let's save some attributes. Suppose you want to save an attribute in page scope, then you have to use the page scope page context. Page context is a JSP implicit object and represents to a page scope. The page context dot set attribute method allows you to create an attribute. Suppose we want to specify some name here. Let's say ABC, and the value is 123. Now we just want to say create another attribute in wider scope. Okay, if you want to save an attribute into request scope, then you can write request, which is another JSP implicit object, request dot set attribute. Now let's say we want to specify the same name, or you can say some different name as well, because these are the different namespaces, so you can use the same name, but to avoid the conflict, you should use some appropriate scope specifiers if you are using EL. Suppose the value of this attribute is 234. Now we want to save an attribute into the session scope. Session dot set attribute. You can use different names as well, but in this example I'm just demonstrating it. Application is one more JSP implicit objects. Application dot set attribute. Again, right, we can save an attribute using scripting, but what if we want to save an attribute in available scopes using JSTL? There is one tag, set. Set. This tag allows us to save an attribute. There are 2 different variants available. Set with var attribute. There is one more variant of set tag, which is set tag with target attribute. So let's start with the var attribute. We created a tag cset provided by JSTL. So we need to first of all include the taglib directive, taglib prefix, and URI. Now let's start with cset tag. We have 2 attributes in set tag. One is var and the other one is value. There is one more attribute which is optional, and that attribute is scope attribute. Suppose we want to create an attribute naming AAA, and the value pair is 333, and we want to save this attribute in session scope. You can specify predefined values here. If you want to save this attribute in page scope, then write page. If you want to save this attribute in request scope, then write request. If you want to save this attribute in session scope, then you can write session. And finally, if you want to save the attribute in application scope, then you can write application. Right? Okay. So let's say we want to save this attribute in application scope. So we specified application value here. Now what next? We just want to access these attributes. So I'm creating a heading tag here and some line decoration. Now, because these are the block level elements, so that we can simply print the value in between the lines, I'm using another JSTL tag, cout, right? Cout tag. Now value attribute, and we can specify the attribute name AAA, and you know the value is 333, right? Okay, so let's run this example. 15 JSTL. 15 JSTL 333. You can see that we saved an attribute using JSTL tag. There is a tag available for saving an attribute in different scopes. Now you can access the same value using, let's say, cout and value. Because the attribute is saved in application scope, you can use the EL implicit object application scope dot AAA. Now once again we are going to access the same value. There is no issue. So we learn to create an attribute in available scopes. Now in next example we'll discuss more about that tag. So see you in next video.